What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Bedison. As you can see, I'm riding solo today. We were meant to be joined by both members of the Mighty Whites podcast, but due to unforeseen circumstances ahead of today's recording, it's just me. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to run through my 23-man prediction for the England squad for the Euros ahead of the delayed 2020 Euros at the end of this season. You guys, if you get involved in the comments, you can let me know if you agree with my opinions. I've also got a list of people who I think will be on that short list of getting a call up if there's an injury, or this is all surplus to injuries before the Euros takes place or before the league's called up. So I do want to do a quick run through though of the Premier League table before we do get to that. But as you can see at the bottom, scrolling across, make sure that you comment your opinions or my opinions or who you think should be going to the England squad as well. We'll run through it in order. We'll go goalkeepers, defence, midfield, attack, and then I'll go on to the honourable mentions. Make sure you get into the comments and join in. We'll probably run through some things. You'll probably disagree with a lot of the things that I have to say, which, I mean, I expect. But let's start with this Premier League table. Because we missed last week, there's been a bit of a shift in the table. Some big wins for relegation struck teams, some incredibly dropped points for some teams at the top of the table. There's one key thing, which is Man City, that are just running away with the league. They got a 1-0 win today against Arsenal. Raheem Sterling scoring a very early goal. But it does mean that they are now 10 points clear at the top of the table. City don't look like they're going to drop 10 points, so it looks like they're going to run away with the top of the with the Premier League this season. Is it unheard of that somebody might catch them? No, there might be a late charge for a Premier League title challenge, but I really don't see it happening. I think City have got it. It's really a case of who's going to finish in the top four. At the moment, top four is made up of Man City, Man United, Leicester, and West Ham, who beat Spurs earlier today 2-1, thanks to Jesse Lingard, showing why he's the he should have been in that Man United squad all along. Chelsea are lingering in fifth, which is huge. To say that Frank Lampard was doing such a terrible job that brought in Thomas Tuchel, and they're only 2 points off Champions League spots. The big thing, obviously, Liverpool sitting in sixth. If all the games in hand go against Liverpool, they could be looking at a ninth place finish at this moment in time, which is terrible for a team that ran away with the league last season. I know they've had a hell of a lot of injuries this season, especially in defence. They had their 18th centre-back partnership of Nat Phillips and Kabak yesterday, which is unheard of for a Premier League team to have 18 different centre-back partnerships during a league, and to have to rely on such young players as well to try and carry them through. It's unfortunate for Jurgen Klopp, but I've heard a lot of people asking for Jurgen Klopp to resign. I saw someone say that Jurgen Klopp should resign and Kenny Dalglish should take over, which is absolutely ridiculous. No manager would be able to cope with the amount of injuries that Liverpool have been through this season. It doesn't matter what team it was. Defence is so crucial, and when you lose players like Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, Alexander-Arnold was injured for a bit, and although his defence is questionable at times, he's still such a crucial part of that back four. Andy Robertson obviously was injured as well, and now the likes of James Milner, Jordan Henderson came off yesterday in the Merseyside derby. Alisson's not been playing the same. Maybe it's just a case of Liverpool tiring out due to the amount of games they've had to play in such a short space of time due to the COVID break that we had at the end of last season, which meant the season went all the way into July. Then we started again in September. They're still playing Champions League football, still playing European football. They're they've been very unlucky, and to be honest, they pushed to keep that title in the grasp, but it's just not going to happen this season for them. I think the key game that happened yesterday was Fulham beating Sheffield United 1-0, meaning that Fulham now are only 3 points off safety, which is Newcastle that are just on the 17th spot at the moment, who are playing Man United right now. So if Man United can get a win against Newcastle, Fulham have 3 points to get, and they're on level for games played as well. And Newcastle have a terrible goals record. They're on -15 in goal difference at the moment. So there's a possibility that Scott Parker will get Fulham out of it. Well, will we see a great escape by Fulham? I reckon we will. I think if anyone's going to go down this season, I reckon Newcastle, West Brom, and Sheffield United will be the three. West Brom got a good point against Burnley yesterday, even with 10 men, thanks to Ajayi's handball. And they got a good point the week before against Man United, but getting 1 point isn't going to save them at this point. They need to be getting 3 points if they're going to get out of this relegation scrap. But we'll move on to the main thing, which is England's 23-man squad. There'll be a lot of speculation around this squad, and to be honest, we'll have a clearer picture of what this squad's going to be like when we get towards the Euros, towards the back end. When we get to April, May time, we'll know more who's probably a shoe-in to get into the squad and who we think might have an outside chance, depending on how form goes towards the end of the season. So, that being said, the major position I think that people will be talking about is goalkeepers. There's 3 obvious candidates, and they are the 3 people that I've picked. Nick Pope, Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford. Now, major question is Jordan Pickford. Is he still England's number 1 goalkeeper at this point in time? In my opinion, no. He pulled out an absolute wonder save against Liverpool yesterday from a Jordan Henderson volley, just tipping that round the post. And he has that in his locker, but he's got so many mistakes in his locker as well. He doesn't have the reach. And although I think he's been living off the back of this World Cup glory that we had in 2018, he obviously was the first goalkeeper to win the shootout with England against Colombia. He did play well in that tournament, but he seems to have just fallen downhill since then. For me, Nick Pope is number 1. I think Nick Pope's the better keeper out of the 3 of them. I don't think Dean Henderson should be anywhere near the starting lineup at this point in time, because if he's not starting for his club, how can he start for the country? You can't be second choice at a club and be first choice for England. I think that doesn't make sense. For me, Dean Henderson ends up being third choice just off the lack of game time that he's played. Jordan Pickford, however, I think is still the second choice goalkeeper. I was trying to look for goalkeepers in the Premier League that have, or English goalkeepers in the Premier League that are either starting for the team or are on the cusp of starting, like Dean Henderson's on the cusp of starting for Man United. If De Gea has a bad game, people are looking at Dean Henderson as being the replacement for David De Gea. But the only other goalkeepers that you're looking at are Sam Johnston for West Brom, who, although I think Sam Johnston's a good keeper, he's not England quality. He's nowhere near England quality. And if you're playing for a relegated side as well, I think that goes against you. The only other one as well was Carl Darlow for Newcastle, who I think is a decent goalkeeper. I do actually quite rate Carl Darlow. I think he's been great for Newcastle, and if it wasn't for him, they'd be in a lot worse position than what they are at the moment. Newcastle seem to have 2 decent goalkeepers in him and Dubravka, but they don't have the defensive front of that. Could Carl Darlow possibly play well with a international team or international level centre-back partnership in front of him, possibly. But I think Nick Pope is the number one to go to this tournament, at least. Although Burnley haven't been great, Nick Pope is their shining light. We do have a comment, Brad Carrot. Will be Pickford, Pope second, may take the first spot if Burnley stay up. Henderson needs to start. Yeah, Henderson played well against Sociedad in the Europa League, but he didn't have much to do. The FA Cup is not enough games to show yourself as being England's number one. Whereas Nick Pope plays week in, week out. I think if you're looking at anyone else, maybe for experience, just to give the younger keepers a bit of experience, maybe Tom Heaton, just take him. Don't even take him as the 23-man squad. Just take him like as a coaching role. Just give those people a little extra motivation. Somebody who's got a decent head on his shoulders, somebody who's been and played in all levels of football and can probably help mature the younger keepers like Nick Pope and Dean Henderson and John Pickford. Sam Johnson, most saves in the league. Yeah, he has got the most saves in the league, but this is the problem. When you've got a defence in front of you like West Brom have, and to be honest, I really like Semi Ajayi. Other than his handball yesterday, I think he's taken to the Premier League quite well. Kyle Bartley's all right, but I don't think he's not Premier League quality. He's good. He's a good Championship centre back. He'll be top level Championship centre back, but he's not a Premier League centre back. And I don't rate Roman Saiz that they've got, who's also playing centre back for him. But Sam Johnson himself, I don't think is the quality that England do need. For motivation, I'd take Joe Hart. To be honest, I think Joe Hart needs motivation himself. Head and Shoulders kind of killed his career off. And he's third. Would you say third or second choice at Spurs? I can't remember if the Argentinian goalkeeper's still there at Spurs. But yeah, he's another player who's been there, done that. As a reserve, my reserve pick, I think I'm going to go with Caldalo. I think he's been great for Newcastle in the side that needs help really in defence, and even when they've got someone like Dubravka, who's now second choice due to his injuries, Caldalo's kind of shone and taken him out of the picture, which is great for such a young keeper. But then again, I don't think he's there. I think those three keepers will be England's goalkeepers until someone, either younger or through the youth ranks or something like that, someone comes through and takes one of those spots. But we'll move on to the defence. Now, how I've picked the defence, I've picked it in the way that I would, not the way that I think Gareth Southgate will. Now, that's going to be hard to explain. One, I've not picked Kieran Trippier, and I've not picked him for the reserves either. Reason being, he's banned until April anyway due to a gambling issue that went through end of last season. I think he placed a bet on overseas football. So I wouldn't personally take Kieran Trippier, but I think Southgate will, because he likes the fact that Kieran Trippier can play on the left side and on the right side. Plus, everyone remembers the free kick at the World Cup. He's going to live in everyone's memory. So, yes, he will probably get there. But for me, I wouldn't take him. I've taken 3 right backs, 2 centre backs, and 2 left backs. And that's going to sound really strange, but the reason why I've taken 3 right backs is because one of them can also play as centre back. So the 2 right backs that will just be playing that position, Alexander-Arnold, of course. I mean, he's not going to get into the England squad. He's too good of an attacking fullback, and the way that he controls himself when he's in tight situations is great. If he can just tune up on that defensive situation or defensive marking and tracking back, he could be one of the best fullbacks in the world. Yes, I think for the past 2 seasons, people have said that Alexander-Arnold has been the best in the world. But realistically, I think he's also been caught out so much at the back, especially now that Van Dijk's out. Maybe if they have a cool, calm head next to Alexander-Arnold, who's going to tell him to get back and track back into that position, it'll work. But I think he still ends up being the starting right back. I knew this was coming. Most of the Leeds fans, because this is also being streamed on the Mighty Whites podcast Twitter as well. So make sure you go over to there and follow them on Twitter at Mighty Whites Pod. Yes, Luke Ayling's been great, but he's on my reserves. He'll be on the call-ups. The other right back who's fully going to play right back, and I think will get called up, is Reece James for Chelsea. I think for some reason Gareth Southgate doesn't see Aaron Wan-Bissaka as being a full-time England international. Maybe that's because he prefers an attacking fullback and Wan-Bissaka is better at the defensive side of things. I don't know. But Reece James has proven himself at his time at Chelsea that he's great at going forward. He tracks back. He runs like an engine. He just doesn't seem to tire. I think Reece James will be one of England's future. I think he'll overtake Alexander-Arnold in the pecking order eventually, if we're looking for that guy that can play both attacking and defensive. It all depends on what formation we're playing. Why do English players look like tater tots? I mean, to be fair, Sam Johnson kind of does. No, not again. Can't be taking Ashley Cole again. The right back, though, that I'm going to take, who is a centre-back, who can play as their centre-back as well, and he showed that in the last tournament that we played, is Kyle Walker. Interchangeable at right back and centre-back. Great on both feet. So quick. He's played really well for Man City this season, interchanging in between centre-back and right back. And maybe the inclusion of João Cancelo now at Man City has shown Kyle Walker that he can't rest on his laurels. He's got to be a full-time, he's got to prove himself every game. He can't pick and choose to do these fancy passes, these fancy runs and things like that. He's got to be solid at defending. So I would say that Kyle Walker coming in at centre-back as well as playing right-back is a good option. And it gives us the option of playing 3 at the back with 2 fullbacks, or we could play the standard 4-4-2, which England is known for. Before we go on to the full centre-back options, though, I'm going to play a quick little video just showing what goes live here. In fact, we'll do the audio one. This is the audio version. So the audio podcasts that are on What the Buzz, SoundCloud. So make sure that you go check these out afterwards. Yeah, if you want to listen to an audio podcast, make sure that you go over to What the Buzz, SoundCloud, and check out the fantastic audio podcast that we've got. Continuing with our centre-backs, the 2 centre-backs that I would take because of the interchangeable Kyle Walker. And I've got a midfielder who I think could also slot in at the centre-back role as well. Harry Maguire and John Stones. Both of them played really well at the 2018 World Cup. Harry Maguire gets a lot of criticism, even though I think he's a decent centre-back. And maybe that's with my Manchester United head on. I think Harry Maguire gets the bad stick of things, although he's a great leader on the pitch, and I think he's a fantastic centre-back as well. It doesn't help him having to play with people like Lindelof and Eric Bailly. Although Bailly's been good this season, and I think Lindelof's kind of sorted himself out, I just think that Maguire is better than what people are talking about or what people are saying about him. I also think John Stones has come on leaps and bounds this season for Man City, from being a fringe player to being one of the first players on the team sheet, and him and Ruben Diaz have struck up such a good partnership in central centre-back for Man City that he's become one of the reasons why City have run away with the league so much, is because people can't break down the centre-back partnership of them two. Kyle Walker playing on the right side, and then your two wing-backs. They've got Cancelo, and then between Benjamin Mendy and Zinchenko, I think, is the other one. So for me, I think Maguire and Stones will be the starting centre-back partnership. Not Phil Jones and his god-awful face. Brad saying Shaw, Connor Cody, John Stones, and Alexander Arnold in the back four. Chris Smalling, you know what? To be fair to Chris Smalling, he's gone to Roma and he's done a job. In one of the leagues that prides themselves on great defensive ability, he has gone there, shown why he's a good defender. Well, I wish he'd have shown it when he were at Man United, for God's sake. But he's gone there and he's done what he's needed to do. And Roma have obviously seen something in him that they like. So we'll see. And then as two left backs are Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw. I think Ben Chilwell is the best left back that England have if he can stay fit. And then again, Luke Shaw is the second best left back if he can stay fit. These are all ifs and buts at the moment for England, and left side seems to be our weak side, because we don't know, taking Shaw and Chilwell, that either of them are going to stay fit for a full season. Like, for the full tournament, sorry. Like, Ben Chilwell is great attacking-wise, defensively. He's not the quickest, but he's got an engine on him. He can play. He could really play probably CDM as well, could Ben Chilwell. He's got a great free kick and a great cross. He'd be great from set pieces. But there's this lingering feeling of, but he might get injured. And then you've got Luke Shaw, who, again, Alex Tellers has come into Man United and hasn't been able to nail down that starting place at Man United, because Luke Shaw has played really, really well. But at left back, we just seem to be so disjointed. We just don't know who's going to stay fit for a full tournament to play in those positions. I'm guessing these are the same comments. So, Chuck, you don't know what you're on about, man. Still runs like a horse. Yes, I know. Chris Smalling does run like a horse. And Phil Jones has got the face of a horse as well. Maitland-Niles, I would take... Maitland-Niles is more of a right back for me. I don't think he can play that left back role. But even then, at West Brom, he's not looked great. He's gone from an Arsenal side where he couldn't get into it to a West Brom side where I don't think he's outshining anyone in that West Brom side. We'll get on to Sakho later. And Ben Mee, centre-back wise, Burnley, to be fair, Ben Mee and Tarkowski, both are great centre-backs, but they're not getting in ahead of this, like John Stones, who's having a great season. Harry Maguire, I think, is going to get put on that team sheet no matter what. Whether he has an awful, final 2-3 months of this league or not, I think he will end up going anyway. The only other person that I thought about possibly getting into that side is Michael Keane, because I think he's been great for Everton this season. But and like Brad said earlier, Connor Cody as well. I think Connor Cody has been great for Wolves. But I just see John Stones playing a better defensive role than what Connor Cody will. I know Connor Cody gives you that range of passing, but it's just not what England need. We've got, well, we'll go on to actually the midfield, because this will explain how I'm working this out. So I've got 3 players that I think can play the defensive midfield role for England, and that's Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips, and Declan Rice. Now, I know all England fans will be absolutely not up in arms. All Leeds fans will be absolutely over the moon that they've got a Leeds player finally back into the England side. And not only that, they've got someone who's probably going to be in and around that England side for a good 5-6 years, I reckon. He'll be probably there for the next World Cup. Jordan Henderson got injured against Everton. This is pending. Well, we don't know the extent of Jordan Henderson's injury yet, bar any massive injury that he has to have surgery and he's ruled out of the Euros. I think Jordan Henderson starts, Jordan Henderson captains us. There's no way that I don't see Henderson doing that. Calvin Phillips is probably, him and Declan Rice are probably the future of England's defensive midfield. I think Calvin Phillips' range of passing is absolutely fantastic. His defensive awareness has come on leaps and bounds since Marcelo Bielsa took over. His running rates through the roof. He doesn't seem to tire. The only problem is he puts a rash challenge in every now and then. And when you're at the Euros, if you do 2 bad challenges, that's it, you're off. And that could be his Euros done. He plays 1 game, gets sent off, and the manager loses faith in him. Southgate turns around and says, no, obviously you're not mature enough, takes him off. We don't see him for the rest of the Euros. It's a good experience even if he don't get out on the pitch as well, because at least he's gone there, he's experienced the tournament, and he has been able to train in that Euro section. I know it's going to be different this year because there's going to be no fans. It's going to be a strange watch, not only for the people at home that are going to be watching it, but also for the players, because there's not going to be those fans that are cheering on the full country, and you're not going to see like the massive watch parties that we did for the World Cup where beer's flying everywhere when someone pings a free kick top corner. No one's going to be staying up late to watch Denmark versus Latvia. I know Latvia's not qualified, but you know what I mean. No one's going to be staying up for those games that isn't for their country. But I think him and Declan Rice are the 2 midfielders that are going to anchor England for the next 5-10 years. And Declan Rice as well will probably go because I think he can slot in at that centre-back role. If there's some major injury issues, I think Declan Rice can play alongside either Harry Maguire or John Stones or Kyle Walker and still do a job for us. Kind of the same way that Eric Dyer did for so long. But I just don't rate Eric Dyer. Few more comments. Connor Cody should captain us. To be fair, with the leadership that he shows at Wolves, that's a fair point. I thought you'd be happy about Phillips. Roberts. I'm guessing you mean Tyler Roberts, but he's Welsh. Did someone say the challenge? No, none of that shit here. Curtis Jones. He's someone who I think could potentially... I want to say that he could potentially be in the squad, but I just don't think he's good enough at this moment in time to break into that England side. I think England's going to struggle picking attacking options, and then no matter who we pick, if we don't win this tournament, no matter who we pick in that attacking midfield role, the manager is going to get berated for not picking certain people. And it's just going to be like that because, well, 1, we're English, we love to fucking complain about everything. But 2, if you don't pick a certain person and then you don't pick a certain person and then the person that you do pick plays shit, you are always going to take the brunt, especially as the manager. And that's just how it works. Who do you think will be England's toughest group matchup in Group D between Czech Republic, Croatia, and Scotland? Where do you think England will finish? Now, I want Croatia hardest, third at least. I want to say Croatia would be as hardest, but to be honest, they've got so many aging players. This is going to bite me in the ass. I just know it. But I think Croatia's aging players, they don't have Rakitic playing anymore. Perisic is on the wrong side of 30. Modric is not doing it at Real. But I know we're talking about a Croatia side that 3 years ago were in the World Cup final, and you look at them now and you think, no, I just don't see it. Vrsaljko's not great anymore. Their other right back at that tournament was Cerner, and he's retired completely. I think our hardest game, genuinely, will be Scotland, just because it's England versus Scotland. It's that rivalry. I think Scotland and England, the last time we played, I think, was a 1-1 draw, and we had to have Oxlade-Chamberlain dig us out in the mud. They've got a great midfield with John McGinn and Scott McTominay. Liam Cooper, if he can stay fit, is great at the back. They've got Kieran Tierney and they've got Andy Robertson as well, who can both play. Well, they're both left backs, but Andy Robertson slots in as like a left centre back, and Tierney plays out on the left. You've then got up top, you've got people like Lee Griffiths, who's a great finisher. I know he's not kind of getting into the thingy squad at the moment, the Celtic squad, but you know, by the time we get to the Euros, everything will be chopped and changed. I genuinely think Scotland will be our hardest one, and I genuinely think we'll top our group. I think we'll top us group. I think we can beat Czech Republic. I think we'll beat Croatia. At least get a draw against Scotland. I think we get top of our group, which is what we need, because we need the easier groups, the easier games going into the knockout stages. Dyer should be nowhere near this team. He is Dyer. Yes, but, you know, Gareth Southgate does have a chubby for him. I agree with you. Croatia may very well be this year's Netherlands of the past. Yeah, Netherlands are... If this tournament had taken place in 2020, Netherlands would have been my pick of an outsider to win it. I think their squad's great. And I think when they had Koeman in charge, would have been a real threat. But now Koeman's left. I don't know whether the team's going to play the same. Rebic, correct. Yeah, Rebic is a great player, but again, he's another person who's the wrong side of 30. And at this point, Rebic is playing up top for an AC Milan side that have Ibrahimovic, who's the wrong side of 40, and Mandzukic, who's nearly 40 himself. Yes, he's still quick, but he will tire very, very quickly. I think our midfield and our defence will be able to cope with Croatia's attacking threats quite well in the tournament, but defensively we'll see, because I think they've still got, is it Vidra, their main centre-back, and I think he's a quality centre-back. Although he's still playing out in the Turkish league, I still think he's a great centre-back, highly underrated and very, very quick. So we'll go on to my attacking options. One was mentioned earlier, which was Saka. I think Saka will go, and I think he's a great person to take because he can fill in at that left-back spot. Then I've picked 4 attacking midfielders. 2 who can play out on the wing, and 2 that can just sit in that gap in the middle and control the game for us. And those are the 2 that can sit in the middle and control the game for me are Mason Mount and Phil Foden. Foden is absolutely on fire for Man City. World class. will just get better with experience. And now that he's playing week in, week out for Man City, you're finally getting to see Phil Foden be the player that everyone expected Phil Foden to be. Mason Mount is the other one for me because I think, again, purely because Gareth Southgate likes him. He's been a shining light for Chelsea this season. He's played better than their big signings of Timo Werner, Kai Havertz. He's been still their attacking main threat. And I think he does control a bit more than what Phil Foden does. He seems to have a bit more of a voice that you don't see. And then my other three are Jack Grealish and Harvey Barnes. Now, a lot of people, it's a toss-up between two Leicester people, which was Harvey Barnes or James Maddison. I think personally, Harvey Barnes has been better than Maddison this season. And I think because Harvey Barnes has that advantage of he can play out on the wing and he can even fill in at striker, I think he's going to get the nod over James Maddison. Whereas I think Jack Grealish is fantastic. I think Jack Grealish is one of the best midfielders in the world at this moment. One of the best attacking players that's all round in the world at the moment. And he's playing for an Aston Villa side. Imagine what he could do with a side that's in the Premier League, like attacking the top of the Premier League. Someone like, I don't want to put him in someone like Man City or somewhere like that, but I mean, like, imagine what he could do playing at Spurs with Son and Kane up top, or playing at Arsenal with Aubameyang. You know, these players that he could just give that extra little bit of an edge to. I think Jack Grealish is going to be up there for a long, long time, and I think he'll be one of the standout players for England. And I think, for me, should be starting. I think I would start Jack Grealish at this tournament. A lot of people will probably disagree, but I genuinely think he's one of the better options that we have. Brad with Grealish, Foden, and Maddison. Yeah. Matt with not Mount, never Mount. Take Barnes instead, or Maddison. Brad, he amounts to nothing. Lingard seems to have a new lease of life at the Hammers. Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, if you're going to look at Jesse Lingard, you're going to look back at the World Cup with fond memories, especially that screamer that he scored against Panama. Yes, it was Panama, but he still scored a goal at the World Cup, and not many people can say that. Yes, he's got a new lease of life, and maybe he's enjoying himself under David Moyes again at West Ham. But I still don't think he's England quality. He'll probably be someone who gets a phone call to say you're on the reserves, or if someone gets injured, there's a possibility that you might come. But I don't see it. Emil Smith-Rowe with a chance. He's someone I didn't think about, and yes, I think he's great. I think Smith-Rowe could really be a future England star, but I think there's too many options in centre attacking mid at this moment in time for him to even get in with a chance of being there. Is Mason Greenwood classed? Mason Greenwood, I would put in the forwards. I wouldn't say he's a midfielder at the moment, but I will get onto the forwards. However, I am going to play a quick video again because, one, talking by yourself really does hurt your throat, and I didn't think it would do. Before we get onto the forwards and get onto the reserve list, I'm just going to play a quick video that shows you all the live shows that go on here at What the Buzz. Yeah, that's all the fantastic shows that go live here at whatthebuzz.com or whatthebuzz, WTB.com on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then What the Buzz on YouTube. Make sure that you go check out all those fantastic shows. And if you're watching on Twitter or on Facebook, make sure that you go like or go follow the pages so you never miss out on a thing. We are going straight onto the attack, though, for this squad. I found it difficult to pick a side here with the amount of attacking options that we've got. I've only managed, well, because of the amount of players that I've got in midfield, I've got 5 in attack. Harry Kane, because I think Harry Kane, well, he's a shoo-in, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's the clinical goal scorer of this group. Jadon Sancho, he was an outside one because realistically he's not been playing that well in Bundesliga this season. And I think there's been some great attacking options in the Premier League that Gareth Southgate's been able to watch firsthand. Marcus Rashford, he can play out on the left, and I think that's his better position, playing out on the left. But he can also fill in at striker. He's not as clinical as a finisher as what people thought he was going to be, because when he first came in, he was just scoring goals for fun. At this moment in time, he seems to be more of a playmaker. Maybe that's because Bruno's finishing so much. We've got a centre attacking mid that's finishing more than what our strikers are. Or maybe it's the fact that Cavani's coming and you can finally see what an actual clinical goal scorer is. But Marcus Rashford, I think, for me, is better out on the left. Another winger in Raheem Sterling. Sterling's just great. I mean, if he could just keep that finishing ability, he seems to find his finishing ability for about 5-6 games, then he seems to lose it again. If he could keep that finishing ability, he would be up there with some of the greatest players that England have. I think his pace is too good to pass up on. I think his dribbling ability is fantastic. His final third distribution of the ball, whether he shoots or passes, I think needs to be toned in on properly. But I do think he still makes this squad. And I think the final striker that will go is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Yes, he's been out injured for a bit, but the way that he started this season, so clinically, so great at finishing, proves that he's someone that we need in the squad. If Harry Kane gets injured, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the starting striker. No questions. Do I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin could lead the line for us potentially when Harry Kane retires? I'm trying to think. I think there's like 4-year difference between them. I think Calvert-Lewin may eventually take that, but I think at this moment in time, Harry Kane is the number 1 striker, and people just have to fall in line behind that. Sterling, Grealish, Ward-Prowse, Sancho, Declan Rice, my midfield. I'm guessing you're playing 4-5-1 this way. Ward-Prowse is another one who I think is absolutely fantastic. I think he's a great player when he's taking free kicks. I don't think he gets into the squad for the rest of his performance. I think there's better midfielders than Ward-Prowse overall. Danny Welbeck, yeah, for some reason he always seems to get a call up. Sancho will for the right-hand side role. Yeah, but I think Raheem Sterling can play on that right side as well as playing on the left side, which is another feather in his bow, which is why I think Sterling will end up going. Flashback Sturridge. If he can find a club and banging goals for the next 3 months, maybe. Danny Ings, fantastic striker, will be on the reserves to be called up. I don't think he'll go. And Mikel Antonio, I don't think he's at England quality. I think Mikel Antonio's, he's all right, but I think he's just fast at this point in time. There's a lot of players for striker at this moment in time, especially that are English in the Premier League, that are banging goals in, that could have a chance of going. Ollie Watkins, I think he seems to go hot and cold too much to be in the England squad. But I think maybe there's a potential that he could be in the future England squads. Patrick Bamford at 27, banging in goals for Leeds, let's be honest. He's been great. He's been better than what people expected. Do I think Patrick Bamford has a chance of getting in this England squad? Potentially. I think if Calvert-Lewin or Harry Kane end up with an injury, I think Patrick Bamford's the next person below on that list to be called up. I think if we have an international break, I don't know if we have an international break before the Euros. If we do, I think he might get a call up and probably get chucked on and see how he plays. If not, he probably should take the options of playing for either Ireland or Northern Ireland. I think he's got a choice to do that. Wilfried Zaha swerve. Yeah, if he hadn't have already played for Ivory Coast, there's a possibility that Wilfried Zaha could be there. The players that I have on standby for this that are on the reserves, Patrick Bamford is there. I think Eric Dyer will be on reserves, although I don't think Eric Dyer should be near the squad. I think he will be potentially one of the players that Southgate has contact with, saying, look, if someone gets injured, you'll be coming. Luke Ayling, I think at right back, has been great for Leeds this season. Matty Cash, who I think also has been great at right back, and I think he has an option to be able to play at left back as well, which probably helps him. Curtis Jones for Liverpool, I think, yes, there's talent there, but I don't think he's ready. If there was a major amount of injuries, I think he'd be one of the people that would be looked at being called up. Mason Greenwood is another one who I think he's almost there, but he's not. I don't think he's there to go to the Euros at this point in time. Justin, the right back from Leicester, because he's played left back, right back, centre back, CDM. He's a versatile player, I think, and I think he's someone who's going to be in the England squad in the future. Tariq Lamptey, another right back. I seem to be just naming right backs at this point in time, but I think Lamptey is going to be another one who's got a possibility of being called up. David Beckham. I mean, he always wanted that one last international appearance, and then he got injured before 2010 World Cup, so he didn't get it. Hudson-Odoi, yeah, I don't think he plays enough for Chelsea, in my opinion. I think Tuchel really does rate him, but I think there's just too many good wide options at this point in time. Karl Darlow, I've already said, I think he's my reserve goalkeeper. Tyrone Mings is my reserve one of my two reserve centre-backs, because I think Tyrone Mings is absolutely fantastic, especially for an Aston Villa side who needed someone to come in and just kind of compact that defence and someone to lead it. I think Tyrone Mings is just, he's needed at Aston Villa, and maybe we'll see him in that England squad in the future. Yes, not after yesterday. I'm guessing that's Hudson-Odoi, maybe. I don't know. I didn't see the Chelsea game yesterday. I don't think Villa played yesterday. Wan-Bissaka, like I said, I don't think Southgate rates him because of his lack of attacking flair when he's going up the pitch. Defensively, I think Wan-Bissaka is the best right back that England have got. That's me with my Man United head on. But I don't think Southgate rates him. I think he rates Reece James above him. And Michael Keane. I think Michael Keane really should have had a shout in this team. I think Michael Keane's great at what he does for Everton. He's shown himself to be a decent centre-back at this point in time. But I don't think he's shown himself enough to get into that England side. Not with people like Maguire and John Stones. and Connor Cody, Kyle Walker, who could fill in at centre back. I think we've just got too many options, and I think he plays too similar to Harry Maguire in the way that he tries to be a tall, commanding centre back, but he's not got the height, he's not got the aerial ability that Harry Maguire's got. I think that if we're going to play with three centre backs, we'll play Walker, Maguire, and Stones. If we're going to play with two, it'll just be Maguire and Stones. Henderson in goal, being solid when given a chance. Yeah, but he's not had enough game time. I think Nick Pope is the starting goalkeeper, like I said. Nick Pope starts. I think Henderson and Pickford just go because you take three goalkeepers, don't you? That is how it works. If anyone wants to know, or if anyone's watching this and not watching the Man United game, 1-1. Alan Saint-Maximin's just scored to make it 1-1, which is shit as a Man United fan, but hey, what can you do? Both teams are scrapping for points. We're scrapping for points to try and cling to getting towards Man City. Newcastle need points to get away from Fulham and keep themselves in the Premier League. So that is something that I will be going and watching after this. But I'm going to play a quick video before I do leave, a social media advert of where you can find the Buzz and where you can find all the rest of our amazing stuff that we do.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I'd go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
Yeah, that's where you can find What the Buzz. Make sure that you go over to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and search for @WTB.com. That's where you can find it. Make sure that you give us a like and a follow on Facebook, a follow on Twitter, and a follow on Instagram. Make sure that you stick around to see all the fantastic stuff that we do. Head to www.whatthebuzz.com to find all of our amazing articles that are written by some fantastic people with either great opinion articles, whether it's things that have happened through the day, recaps, everything. Make sure that you go over there and check out those fantastic articles. Make sure you head over to SoundCloud at What the Buzz and listen to our audio-only podcasts, which are absolutely fantastic. And make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube, which is The Buzz, which is absolutely stacked full of live shows or pre-recorded shows that you can watch back on YouTube. Make sure that you follow Stand Your Ground on Twitter, Stand Your Ground 7, and on Instagram at Stand Your Ground. I'm going to try and get those both being a bit more active so we could get interacting with people that want what they want to see, or maybe even people might come to us with suggestions of video ideas of maybe squads that they want people to build. I'm thinking of doing one about Premier League players that didn't the best Premier League 11 outside of the top European 6 teams. So outside of England, Spain, Germany, France, Holland, and Italy, I'd say they're probably the 6 main ones during the Premier League era. Anyway, from 92 to now, picking a best starting 11. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see. Also, thank you to the people that have joined in with their comments and their opinions about what squad, the England 23-man squad. Obviously, this was meant to be with both Jack and Casey of the Mighty Whites podcast. You can check out Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter at Mighty Whites Pod, or you can follow them on SoundCloud. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you listen to Mighty Wise Pod, which is a Leeds United-based podcast. It's absolutely fantastic. I've been on once as a Man United fan, which they absolutely despised. But they're both great guys. And make sure that you check out my wrestling podcast as well, Armchair Wrestling. We do some great interviews with former wrestlers. Well, I say great. That's my opinion. Anyway, with former wrestlers, and current wrestlers as well that wrestle over in America or wrestle for WWE, people like that. Also, we do recaps of things and we run down what's happening in wrestling. We'll be doing another episode of that live on the Buzz very, very soon, so keep your eye out for that. And make sure that you come back here Sunday next week at 7 p.m. and check out Stand Your Ground again, where we'll be either doing a special or we'll be running through all the Premier League action from that week. All right, Joey Styles going solo. Yeah, it's about time that one of you turned up, dickhead. Right, and on that note, I've been your host, Alex, and we will see you next week in a bit.